All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video. Check out Pig and a Pickle, 2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in Marin County from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Wednesday through Sunday in Emeryville. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Well, very interesting video on Monday about Trey Lance and Sam Darnold and Brock Purdy and the 49er quarterback, and maybe a little bit of an insight into the 49ers thinking about their quarterback position from Albert Breer. Now, Breer came out and basically said, there's been a change in the 49ers thinking on how they view Trey Lance and how they view the quarterback position overall. And it really does jive with the vibe that I've gotten as well, which is that the 49ers are really all in on winning the Super Bowl this year and I don't want to say that they're not all in on winning the Super Bowl every year, but that they are absolutely maniacally determined that this is their year. They are all in. And according to Breer, the 49ers will not risk this season over Trey Lance's development. And there have been a lot of people that have been calling for exactly that. They want to see the 49ers develop Lance, and that if they wind up not winning this season, oh, well, they didn't win last season in the minds of some. Last year, they were all in on Lance, and they were willing to lose some games in September to invest in Lance's development. This year, according to Breer, they're not willing to do that. They won't risk this season. They won't risk games in the season, and they refuse to throw Trey Lance out there and just live with his mistakes. Now, some people would say, well, who are you going to play if Brock Purdy's not ready? And it sounds like the 49ers are more willing to go with Sam Darnold. Now, the entire summer competition has to take place. There has to be an entire preseason. But according to Breer, he makes it seem like Sam Darnold is going to be their choice at quarterback if indeed Brock Purdy is not ready to throw in the first month or month and a half of the season. If they start the year in the first 4 to 6 games, Brock Purdy's not in there, I think most Niner fans assume that Trey Lance would be the starting quarterback. But the reality of Trey's situation is that he may be more raw than any of us really have taken into account. He's only played 1 year of college football. He's gotten off to a very rocky start as far as the NFL is concerned because he's been hurt and he redshirted and he's had injuries and he's only had 4 career starts. So to me, it seems very premature to be able to take a player this young and then make an evaluation this early. But I'm not there in every practice and I'm not there in every meeting. And I don't know to what level he's raw compared to Darnold and Allen and Purdy. I really don't know the answers to those questions. But it sounds like, according to Albert Breer, the Niners refuse to throw him out there. And knowing that he'll make some rookie mistakes, because all young quarterbacks do, especially young quarterbacks who have not played hardly at all in college, and that last year they were willing to live with those mistakes, but this year, not so much. So what is the answer to the question of what happens at quarterback if Brock Purdy, because of the elbow injury, misses a month and a half? The 49ers are a loaded football team, and they are a prime Super Bowl contender, and they're not willing to give away games to develop Trey Lance, which really puts them in a conundrum because Trey Lance needs development. So I don't know what the solution to this problem is going to be. But the question was framed by Breer. It's not about who has the higher ceiling. That, you think about that's been discussed over and over and over again about comparing Trey and Brock Purdy, who has the higher ceiling. But it's not going to be at all about your ceiling. It's going to be about, okay, Brock's the starter. He's going to be out a month. He's going to be out a month and a half. That's going to be 4 to 6 games. Which quarterback can best keep the 49ers in the playoff race and afloat for 4 to 6 weeks? Sam Darnold or Trey Lance? It's not about who's got the higher ceiling, who's got greater potential, Who did you invest more in to acquire? None of those things really factor in. It's which quarterback can best keep you afloat for 4 to 6 weeks if Brock Purdy can't go. And Albert Breer clearly stated in this video that he thinks that they prefer Darnold over Lance if that is indeed the scenario, despite the fact that Trey long-term may have the higher ceiling, and definitely despite the fact that they invested a lot more to acquire Trey Lance than they did to acquire Sam Darnold. But it was that right there was really interesting. Now, what is this Breer guessing, or does Breer have a source? Has Breer talked to the Niners and he's familiar with their thinking? Does he know how they have the quarterbacks ranked? Does Shanahan and Lynch and everybody with the 49ers have the quarterbacks ranked the same? I mean, these are all very interesting questions. But when a push comes to shove, the message is pretty clear. It's that last year they had one mindset, and this year they have a new mindset. Last year they were willing to risk the season and do what they needed to do to develop Trey Lance. This year, for whatever reason, they are no longer all in on that, and they're now going to prioritize making the playoffs and winning the Super Bowl over Trey's development. I've been saying this essentially for the last 2 months, that the 49ers haven't changed their thinking about Trey, that the 49ers are just now have a sense of urgency, and Brock Purdy fits their timeline better than Trey Lance. But me stating that, and I really believe that, I didn't necessarily believe that Sam Darnold would be the better choice than Trey Lance, and that Sam Darnold would be the guy they would go with instead of Trey Lance. But the way Breer frames it, it's not about ceiling, and it's not about draft, capital invested. It's about which quarterback do the 49ers believe can best keep them afloat for 4 to 6 games if Brock indeed is out. And Breer asked that question and then answered it in the same video, as he says he thinks they prefer Darnold over Lance if that is indeed the scenario, despite the fact Trey may have, much higher long-term potential, just despite the fact that Trey may have a higher ceiling. So if this is indeed a look-see into the 49ers thinking, it's really makes you think that it's going to be a very interesting summer. Trey Lance is trying to save his career. Sam Darnold's trying to save his career. You got Brandon Allen there as well, who for whatever reason was the backup to Joe Burrow, but decided to sign with the 49ers to be their 4th string quarterback. Or did somebody tell him he was going to be the 2nd string quarterback, or that he would have a chance to fight for that 2nd string job? And then with Sam Darnold, he came here so early in free agency. We've been asking this question the entire offseason. Did somebody tell Sam Darnold, hey, you know what? You're going to have a great chance to start, because he came here in a way that makes you think that maybe somebody said exactly that to him. So I'm not saying the Niners promised Sam Darnold anything or promised Brandon Allen anything, but it is interesting that the way Albert Breer kind of phrased it, and the way he kind of looks at it, is it's not about upside, it's not about ceiling, and it's not about investment. It's about which quarterback gives them the best chance to win in weeks 1 through 6 if Purdy can't go. And it sounds like it may be a competition between Darnold and Allen, and that Lance may be on the outside looking in, deemed too raw to be given that assignment. I don't know exactly how they think about Lance. I don't know that we're ever going to know the real answers of how they feel about their quarterbacks, but it is a very interesting perspective that Albert Breer shared. All right, hope you enjoyed our 49er video. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of The Krug Show, and thanks to all of you guys for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.